The meeting will begin in 1 minute. The meeting will begin in 1 minute. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Carnegie for our Sioux Falls City Council informational meeting. Today's date, Tuesday, May 19th. Welcome everyone in attendance and those that may be watching on CityLink or on the live stream on the internet. Only one presentation today, and after our informational meeting, we will go to a land use committee meeting where there is again just one item on that, one presentation for that meeting. Call our meeting to order and start with our Public Services Committee. We had a meeting last week. You have an update for us, Councilor Erickson?
Yes. Last week we met and we had Darren, Water Program Coordinator, and Jessica, the Sustainability Coordinator, give us a presentation about the proposed plumbing rebate that we have, kind of walked us through the history of it and where they want to go with it now. They're going to be requesting to the council that we remove the plumbing rebate for the washers and dryers. Instead of coming to an informational, I had, as a committee, we agreed to just have them come straight for the first reading to discuss it and have that information at that time. So nothing real earth-shattering, but good information is where it's been, the changes in washers and dryers and use and costs versus the rebate program that really isn't being used right now. So we're talking about getting rid of it. That's it.
Questions for Councilor Erickson? All righty. This is the point where we have City Council open discussion. Councilors. Councilor Rolfing.
I just wanted to let you know how much we appreciated you running these meetings over the last 932 years, or was it, or just last year? But I know you've been going to council and leadership meetings, et cetera, for the last 3.5, 4 years. So I just want to say thank you for your good leadership and for all your work.
Well, thank you, Councilor. Very much appreciated. As anybody who's gone through the chairs knows, it goes by quick, and I'm going to have a lot of free time after this week, so it'll be a whole lot different for me.
Go back to work.
Yeah, I can do a lot more work at my full-time job. Any other open discussion? Councilor Jameson.
I would just throw it open for discussion. We got to see some of the public input meeting from a faraway destination. I watched some of the open discussion or public input during last week's council meeting regarding the youths riding the buses. And so I'm just throwing this out, as I often do, floated by the councilors just as a thought process to consider. You know, with our swimming pools, we offer those free or reduced patches to get into the pools. Maybe there's a method for individuals to apply for similar for the youth. I know that there's a program for individuals to ride the bus who get a dog tag pass, I think they call it, for the summer for $25. Anyway, something for just students. Maybe we could develop a pilot program of some sort to allow them to get on the bus. I remember just as a kid being a free-range kid. I mean, I could ride my bike everywhere. My parents, I don't know what they were thinking, but they let me be gone all day. But the idea is that kind of freedom really does create a lot of experiences, and perhaps we could maybe look at it. I don't think the cost would be enormous, but I'm just bringing it up as open discussion. See if any other councilors have any interest to pursue maybe looking at some parameters.
Councilor Rolfing.
Funny you should mention that. I've been working on a situation like that all week. with Sam Trebelcock and Mike to a certain extent too, Cooper. And we've got a couple ideas we're looking at. I wanted to find out what the cost was exactly if we can. Haven't gotten that information yet, but will. And so it's being worked on, and I think hopefully something will come to you. And the reason, your folks were doing that is probably the same reason mine were, is to, hope somebody kidnapped you, and then they could ask for a ransom to get you back, to take you off our hands.
Yeah.
Always a stick. Councillor Erpenbach.
One thought that crossed my mind, besides slugging Councillor Rolfing at this point, is the same way that we do the pool passes, and they are based on paperwork that families do already through the school system, so that in order to get that free family pass to the swimming pools in Sioux Falls, the public pools in Sioux Falls, all they have to do is provide proof of their eligibility for the free and reduced lunch program through the school system. So it is already an established process. So I think, to me, that makes sense to maybe replicate that in some way for the bus system. Councilor Rolfing and I have been talking about it back and forth, and he's right. There maybe has to be a way for folks to understand that a free ride isn't. That it comes with responsibilities as well. So there would need to be rules like there are at the pools. A 7-year-old can't get on the bus by themselves. Any different than any more than they can get into a public pool by themselves. Those kinds of things. But I think trying it, give it a shot for the summer. Why not? Yeah. When you talk about what's it going to cost. What's it going to cost? The buses are running anyway, right? So I think, yeah, it'll cost maybe some revenue, but these kids may not be riding it anyway. So I'm with whoever wants to run with this. I think it's a great idea.
Councillor Rolfing.
Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to know how much we're taking in, or how many rides we were giving to kids, is to see if we do this kind of thing, if it really does increase ridership. In other words, if we give 1,000 rides during the summer to kids anyway, and it increases by 1,011 people, it's not worth doing. But if it's 10,000 people, yeah.
If I could add to that, it might not be what happens with that 10-year-old or 12-year-old in the next year or two, but what about 10 years from now? Encouraging bus ridership, more of a long-term perspective, teaching our younger generation, public transportation is a great way to travel around town. So, Councillor Jameson.
Well, if I could add, it's exciting to hear some thought that's already been given and consideration for the idea. Summer has started, even though I think there's snowflakes the other day. Summer is really here, and the time, I think, for these kids has started. You know what I mean? They're already out of school, and so I think the sooner we could maybe react versus, normally we would send it to a committee maybe and refine it or do something, but I would agree with the council chair to maybe find somebody to drive that issue and maybe press it a little differently than we do with the committee, and just kind of work it through, and based on what we've heard here, on some thoughts, and just go get it done kind of thing.
For 90 days through the 1st of September, I guess we'd have to decide on what kind of guidelines or ground rules we would have, ages, eligibility, and that type of thing. But we could turn it around in a relatively quick order. I guess it would be nice if we had maybe a couple, 3 counselors volunteer for a 1-week task force to meet and discuss that, and maybe bring it forth as a resolution or whatever it would take.
I would volunteer a couple of my colleagues. No, I would volunteer myself for sure, and I think Councilor Rolfing could be a great asset for that effort with our involvement in the task force, and Councilor Rolfing's already talked to a couple. I've talked to Sam Trebelcock myself. I did reach out to Don Kearney regarding the requirements for the patches for swimming, but I hadn't heard back, but that's okay. So I would be willing to volunteer.
So yourself, Councilor Rolfing, we have probably Councilor Erickson. Okay, so if the 3 of you want to, you want to volunteer?
Just a comment.
Councilor Kiley?
And pardon me for coming in a little late on the discussion, but from what I pick up now, I guess I am also intrigued by that idea. And I think there is merit. In fact, my wife and I discussed it that very evening last Tuesday, and then I've discussed it with some other neighbors and other individuals too. But I would agree with Councilor Rolfing that we do need to have additional information as far as the amount of revenue that we're looking at too, because obviously we don't want to make decisions without information. So I think if we can get that, but we should start pursuing the topic.
Councilor Anderson.
Last Friday after leadership, I spoke to Tracy about this also. And basically, he does not believe it's going to be a revenue draining source or anything like that. The buses are already out there. They're already running. So, and the way that the contract's set, it isn't set per ridership or anything like that. So nothing's going to change in that way. His only concern was setting up the rules of who, you know, focusing on middle school students before they get into cars and teaching them how to ride transit. You know, we're looking to try to increase that transit system in the future. Here's a great way to do it. Let's teach these young people how to utilize it in the best way possible. And if they get to like it, by the time they can have a car, you know, they may have both still, but they may use the transit more than what we are at this time. And I just think it's a good opportunity for a test model over the summer. And I'm really happy to see the council's response to that too, because I think we're all very like-minded in this, and it's something we can get done.
I don't have kids in school anymore. Councilor Erickson, I know you do. At what age do they get student IDs?
I believe it's middle school. They do
At
not
middle
get them
school,
in
okay.
elementary school. They do not, so there would have to be something changed with that, depending on the ridership as well. One thing that I would, a 7-year-old obviously is too young, and we can discuss this when we're in there, but mocking it after the rules of the pool, if you're 7, you have to be with somebody over the age of 16 or whatever it is. But I know they do not get their student IDs until they hit that middle school time frame. So that might be an issue with the elementary age if they are going to ride. But I think if we have a brief 1-hour-ish meeting, I think that we could probably come up with those rules fairly quickly and just have it be a pilot program. School starts September 8th, and so to have it be as soon as possible until that September 8th timeframe as a test pilot to see if it's something that we want to adapt going forward. But I think that it would be interesting to get a report at the end. How many are using this? What was the impact? How did the children act? Were there any issues as far as if people were unruly on the bus and had to have the ridership taken away? You know, is it only for those in the Sioux Falls School District? If they have their friend over from Brandon, can they hop on the bus and ride as well? I mean, there's some issues to work through quickly, I think, but I don't think that this is, we're not talking about surgery here. I think that we can move this probably fairly quick to make sure that we can get the results that we want to see.
I agree too, and my biggest concern is turning our bus drivers into babysitters, and I think that would probably be the one thing that you would have to look the longest and hardest at. Councilor Kiley?
Well, I was going to say, it seems as though you don't have a lack for volunteers, but I would offer to help out as well too if you need additional help. But I was going to say, as a high school teacher, you do want to be careful about unaccompanied minors. I mean, you can have issues along with that, so that's something that we'd have to obviously consider, the age appropriateness of riding unaccompanied by an adult. So, but anyway, I would be willing to help out too.
So we have 4 volunteers. I think we'll keep it at that. My only input to the committee would be I'd make it free for all teenagers or all youthful. Yeah, and you know, don't worry about the free and reduced. It's just, if you're going to do it, let's see what happens. But my input, Councilor Jameson.
That's a decent approach, and had been talked about. One of the concerns that I'd heard from Sam Treblecock is the issue of the bus driver not knowing. He would have a different set of standards when people are entering the bus. So if everybody had the dog tag, he would know that they've They've been through the process. It isn't a free-for-all, because then it also erodes the value that the others put when they do buy a pass. If all of a sudden it's just everybody's free, they're going to start to feel, well, why do I have to buy a pass? And so there are some good reasons to have a pass and keep things in as well. For those individuals who are riding the bus, they get to show their card just like every other regular person does, and then they get to feel a part of the group instead of, just a little different. Just some thoughts.
All good topics for your committee to discuss. Councilor Jameson's going to chair this committee the way it sounds, so appreciate all of your volunteering. Thank you. Any other open discussion? All righty, Councilor Anderson.
One more thing. While I was up in the cities over the weekend for my older sister's birthday, an article came on the Star Tribune. One of the things that Sioux Falls has struggled with over the summer, once again, is these children that are on the free lunch program and during the summer having problems getting to the areas that offer them those free lunches while their parents are at work. And it was a newer ideal that they're trying in the St. Paul School District, and they actually have a food truck that goes around and parks at the schools, and the kids can come to the schools and get their lunches, bag lunches right there. I just thought it was sort of interesting, so I just wanted to bring it up. I'm not sure how it would work or anything like that, but it's a pilot program that they were doing up there, and it's something that over my years on the council, I think we've heard this almost every summer, that there's areas where it's hard for those children to get somewhere where there is offering of a free meal. So just something I wanted to bring up.
Councilor Erpenbach.
Yeah, I saw that too as well, Councilor Anderson. I just would add that it is Second Harvest that's doing that. Second Harvest is the same organization that's behind Feeding South Dakota, and so it might be a possibility for them to do it. I then would remind folks that there are locations across Sioux Falls where children can go and get a lunch any day of the week. I don't think weekends though, but there are specific sites. I can't say what they are. I'm sure that they're on a website somewhere. Call your school or whatever. But understand that anyone can go and eat those free lunches. It's important for our citizens to understand that they are available. Yeah, we're talking about people having trouble getting to them, and that's why we're talking about the bus deal. But we have to understand those are available now, and they're in several locations all across the city. So the food truck idea is awesome, but where does that go from here? That'd be great to see.
Chair?
Councilor Anderson.
It's been a couple of years since we've had that presentation in front of us.
True.
It would probably be a good time to do that before the kids get out of school again, so.
They are out of school, Counselor.
See, I have no children in school, so. Thanks for warning me. But maybe it's still a good time for us to have them come back in a informational and give us a quick presentation on where these locations are at and everything.
Want to make that contact, Jim? Thank you. All righty, we'll move into our presentation. It is our monthly financial report. Tracy Turbach is on vacation, so we get Tom Hubert. Welcome, Tom. By no means the second string, by the way. So.
Well, I agree. It's, again, nice to be here. It's been a while since I've been over. Tom Huber with the Finance Office. It is hard to believe that school's out and the year's a third over already. And this is the April monthly financial report that we're presenting already this week. So with some last minute changes with the budget to actuals and compilation of other funds, we should now be all singing off the same sheet of music. So appreciate your patience with us to make sure we had all the numbers right. As we do every month, I'll begin by briefly reviewing some of the economic indicators that we follow. Although still comparing favorably to national and state rates, unemployment did tick up slightly in March, which is the latest month that we have available to us. It's now at a rate of 3.7%, but as we've seen in past years and following those trends, I wouldn't expect this to stay there for very long. especially given the demand for labor in our local economy. Building activity remains very strong, as indicated by year-to-date building permitting valuation. It's right on pace with the past 2 years of record-setting construction through the month of April. So another very good indicator that our economy is really humming along. Where we've probably seen the most improvement is in the sales tax collections. General sales tax collections took a solid turn upwards in April, something that probably isn't totally unexpected to us given the fact that what we all see going on around us in our strong economy. On a rolling 12-month basis, we ended the month of April up at 6.4%. This is up from the rolling 12-month rate of 5.8% last month and substantially improved from what we saw at the end of the year of 5.1%. So a little bit of that bounce back impact. Year-to-date numbers are even stronger when you just look at the 4 months from year to year. They're up 7%, which includes audits. Even better than the general sales tax growth is the rate of growth that we're seeing on the entertainment tax collections. I'll call this latest jump the March effect, as it likely reflects the collections for much of the activity that took place in March. Won't go as far as call it March Madness, but with all the activity happening at the event center and other activities around town, March certainly did have an impact on this rate. Given that the entertainment tax reflects what we consider to be more discretionary spending on lodging, dining out, sale of alcoholic beverages, and ticketed events, it in part, I think, reflects the overall strength of our consumer. They're able to spend on discretionary items. I'm not sure that given some of the concerts and events happening around town that everybody would consider them all to be discretionary, but they generally do indicate that it's discretionary spending, that it's not the essentials of life that you have to have every day. 12-month rolling rate for entertainment tax is now up at 8.6%. I don't know that we'll remain at this rate for the entire year, but do believe it should overall remain very strong given all the activity surrounding the events complex and other activities that are going on around town this summer. With the economy as a backdrop, you can see indicated on the slide is the general fund revenue and expenditures year to date, comparing them to budget expectations, and you can see everything is tracking fairly well to budget expectations. If you look at the individual line items within the report itself, there's nothing that's too far out of norm, other than April was, I think Tracy mentioned it last time, was one of those months where we did recognize 3 pay periods. So you'll see some variances on a month-to-month basis, but overall on track with what we would have expected through this time of the year. With that, I'll conclude my remarks and would be happy to stand by for any questions.
Questions for finance? Councilor Jamison.
Help me find it if you can. Tell me where it is, if there is a place in the report that tells us the remaining amount of unobligated funds from last year's capital program.
On page 2, sales and use tax fund summary. In the first part of those pages, you will see that we ended with a spendable fund balance remaining in sales tax of just under $3.5 million. You did approve the supplement for the indoor aquatic center in the tune of $2.8 million, which leaves an available balance, spendable balance at this point of $678,000. Is that?
Yeah, that's the right number. Well, it's the number I was looking for was that it was outlined, when we had just did, like you referenced, that 2.8 for the indoor aquatic center. I think it was pretty clear with the council that we wanted to make sure that that outdoor splash area was included in the project. And I know it's a contingency in the development. I just wanted to make sure there was other funds available if it shouldn't meet the within the proposals, we still have a source to generate get some.
At some point, this, if it was decided to supplement on this has to come back to the city council to supplement that amount, so. We have time, we still have some bids to let, they're still establishing some of those guaranteed maximum pricing for the aquatic center, so we do have some time yet. It doesn't hurt to hold some in reserve as we wait for everything to kind of final out, but.
Thank you. Oh, I have one more, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Tom, the unemployment rate, does it take 3 months or 2 months to, it's that far in the rears? From your chart, it shows.
We just received not that long ago the March numbers. I think towards the very end of, they usually come out towards the very end of the month. So we're usually, when we're doing monthly reports at this time of the month, we're always going to be a month behind on the unemployment rate. We just don't get numbers any sooner.
And just by chance, are you familiar with any regional unemployment numbers beyond just the city of Sioux Falls, the state?
Well, I know the state ticked up as well. From what I looked at, I didn't go into any great details on it, but I know the state ticked up as well. And it's kind of from what the chart shows, it's kind of normal this time of year. It kind of ticks up January, February, March, and then it seems to fall off substantially as we come into the summer months, construction season, all the activity happening around the summer months. And I know if you look around town, there's certainly a demand for labor and part-time labor. So jobs are out there.
Thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you, Tom. I noticed that our unrestricted cash balance has been going down every month or every year now, 13, 14. Currently at 17 or in 15, we're at 17.5%. You don't see that coming close to that 11% situation, do you?
No, not as long. I mean, that cash bounces around and from month to month and year to year. But again, we're looking at those available fund balances, and we've set up that 25% as our target for the unreserved fund, that reserve balance. And as long as we're maintaining that balance, cash is not going to slip, that far below what you're seeing. So it's kind of seasonal, depending upon demands and when we make the payments out. So,
well, we're at 20% right now on the available fund balances and cash status, and our target is 25%.
That will change substantially. We're property tax driven, and so will that cash.
Yep.
Again, it's just a matter of when we recognize certain revenues coming in and expenditures going out. When we get property tax payments in now in May and June, those will all reflect those changes, and then it'll trend down again a little as we come back to the October, November timeframe when we get our next property tax installment. So,
Other questions? All righty. Thank you very much, Tom.
thank you.
Our next meeting will begin in 10 minutes. It is the Land Use Committee. I appreciate everybody here, and we're going to adjourn this meeting.